Can you speak?
Cool.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, hi everyone. My name's Ahmed. I am one of the co-founders of Biconomy. I've been in the crypto space for nearly 4 years now, and we've been I've been personally working in crypto in China, in Dubai, and now I'm in London. I started off with doing a lot of blockchain research when I was in China, also getting involved at the community level, um, and moved to Dubai to work for an exchange, and then for a VC based out there as well, looking to blockchain investments before starting off by economy. I'll let Anika introduce himself.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ahmed. Hey guys, this is Aniket here. Just brief introduction about me. Again, it's been over 4 years for me in crypto. I started my journey again in China with Ahmed. So I just went there in 2016 to study Chinese, and fortunately met Ahmed in one of the Bitcoin meetups. Over then, we decided, okay, to devote our time just to crypto only. So we did a lot of events over there, a lot of cool activities involved, conducting workshops, having meetups, etc. I ended up working for Binance. Of course, you guys must be familiar about the exchange. So I worked there for a couple of months before I came back to India. So 2018 January, I came back to India, and my goal was to get myself involved in the Indian ecosystem. As I knew the potential here, and I was already seeing a lot of good stuff happening. So 1 year, the entire year was spent more on the building community, investing in few projects, and just to get familiar with what's happening in the local, blockchain ecosystem here. Then one fine day I met Sachin in one of the meetups, and then Ahmed and Sachin, we all sat together, thought of, moving into entrepreneurship, and this is how we started Biconomy. Ahmed, do you want to take it over and explain a bit about Biconomy?
Yeah, sure. So to give a quick background, so we, as Anika mentioned, me, Sachin, and Anika, we sort of started working together on staking. We thought staking was a cool idea, and sort of getting sort of passive income by doing this was pretty cool. And sort of 1 or 2 months in, we saw that this is something, although very useful and pretty cool. We realized that what's the point of staking on protocols that don't have adoption or do not have much use cases out there currently. And so we started looking into sort of the adoption problem. Why are there no apps being created on these blockchains? Why are there no users on these as well? And so the more we got down the rabbit hole, the more we started asking questions and started realizing that UX was one of the major reasons for why people or why crypto or decentralized applications are still not mainstream. And so essentially, what we did was we sort of decided to focus on how we can make decentralized applications and more broadly crypto accessible to the mainstream. Or in other words, how can we bring 1 billion people transactions, which was a really interesting concept, which allows the developers to pay the gas fees of the end users. So this essentially means that the end user does not have to come in and understand what crypto is, understand how to get gas fees and go and buy Ethereum in order to use a DApp, and so on and so forth. And so what we realized is that implementing meta transactions for these decentralized applications would reduce the 20-step process it could take somebody to onboard onto a DApp, now down to a 4-step process. And so it's very similar to how we use many different types of applications, whether it's Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, all of these applications, lots of these interactions. When it comes to the infrastructure and server costs, it's essentially paid by the developer or the application owner. And so this Web 2 like experience needs to be there in Web 3, otherwise we won't get adoption. And so the idea behind us, looking at meta transactions essentially, sort of, ensured what Biconomy is, what it is today. And so Biconomy is essentially building a relay infrastructure network to help you to enable meta transactions very easily. So we have SDKs and APIs which are plug and play that allow you to easily easily install meta transactions into your application without having to go through the hassle of doing it yourself. And so you could do it via native meta transaction way or via a smart contract wallet as well. There are various ways of achieving the same outcome. And so we are making sure that the experience for you guys as developers are as simple and as easy as possible to implement this very easily. And so that's sort of Biconomy in a nutshell, and what we're doing. If there's anything, Aniket, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, very well explained, Ahmed, regarding what we're doing and stuff. The main thing why we were doing Biconomy was, we wanted to reduce the entry barrier for developers into the industry. As we've been in the ecosystem, we talked to a lot of emerging devs, and we also talked to a lot of the companies that we have worked with in the past. The key problem that people, they told us that, for a developer, it is super hard to make a DApp, and it takes way long time because there are not enough tools and libraries present out there. And so every DApp developer has to go through the same process of 2 or 3 months of tedious work, and then probably think of the final product. So with Biconomy, we strive to reduce that initial hardship to over just a few days, like instead of few months, and so that you can probably focus more on your product rather than focusing on building initial kind of stuff. And moving forward, we'll be definitely focus on adding more and more features and tools so that developers are primarily focusing on just on making the product, and the backend sort of stuff is handled by us so that the development becomes easy and efficient. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of Biconomy in a nutshell. And here we are very close to launch our beta. So we've been operational for over 10 months now. We got a cool team of 6 people based out of Gurgaon. And Amir is, of course, based out of London. We got selected for Outlier Ventures. That's one of the, I think we were the first team from India who got selected over there. So it's an accelerator based out of London. And we are currently attending the cohort over there. So yeah, I mean, it's been over 10 months, and we are about to launch a beta. So yeah, I mean, we scheduled to launch the beta by end of this month, and that's how we wanted to reach back to the developers and get to know more about the feedbacks about what we're doing, and get them involved, get you guys involved in what we were doing. So what we can do is, I think now I should probably move on to the bounties, because we have a lot of cool bounties for everyone out there in the community, so that they can play around and they can build cool stuff on Biconomy. What I'll do is I'll share my screen, and we can probably go through the Medium article, and I can go over each bounty one by one. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of ideas that we had how we should structure these bounties, and finally we narrowed out to 3 important aspects. We found out that that's the key problems in the industry. So the bounties where we structured was primarily based on the key problems that we have seen in the DeFi space, as we had lots of surveys from our partner companies and the people who are making applications in DeFi, and found out that these are the key problems. And of course, since Biconomy is the one that's in the best spot to solve almost all the DeFi problems by just plug and play. So yeah, here are the bounties for that. The first one is optimized gas management bot. So what it means is, when you do a transaction on Ethereum, because of its volatility and unpredictability, the transaction cost varies from a few cents to a few dollars, and that you probably might have seen in the recent times that the transaction cost somewhere between few thousands of dollars. And this is like, if we see Ethereum to go mainstream or blockchain to go mainstream, this is something not everyone would be willing to pay for, and this is something not we should be paying for. So what the bounty is basically is how we can optimize the gas cost per transaction. So let's say like for a transaction, if you're paying 10 cents, how we can reduce it to, let's say, 8 cents or 7 cents or 5 cents, and without hindering the transaction speed. Of course, we can, like load down the transaction speed and, load on the gas cost. But the main aim of this first bounty is how we can optimize the gas cost per transaction, so that let's say if you're paying 10 cents per transaction fee, we can probably reduce it to 8 or 9 cents. So if you can come up with some cool ideas, and we have some cool links as well here, like Gas Token launched like a couple of years ago. They tried to solve the problem, but it has certain loopholes that doesn't work in every situation. Then of course you can find some information on gas station network, gas station. Coming back to the second bounty is subsidized gas fee. So this is a very important problem. This is something a lot of DeFi protocols out there are also facing and trying to solve. What it means by subsidized gas fee is users who are using all these protocols, they don't want to pay for the gas fee, and it's a turn off for any user who's entering into the protocol. So all these DApp developers and all these projects are looking for innovative ideas so that they can actually subsidize that gas fee. Like let's say if you put token in a wallet, or you store token in a wallet, and you can get some interest out of it, and that interest can be used to pay for the gas fee. And this is how you can subsidize gas fee or e-user. So in that case, the developer doesn't have to pay for the gas fee, and user also doesn't have to pay for it, because it's the token that's logged in the contract that's getting interest, and that's sort of used to pay for the gas fee. So we have few links here. So you can look at Staked. So Staked has a very good SDK, which you can use to incorporate in your application, and look for innovative ideas on how this can be made. And there's another one I think we missed out here is Idle Finance. You should definitely check it out. They also made it very simple for a developer, so that any user who puts in his tokens in the wallet, you can gather the best interest out there in the protocols, and that can be used for the gas fee. And lastly, it's an open track. Like open track, you can come up with any ideas using Biconomy, anything you want to do, whatever it's in your mind, that can possibly reduce the entry barriers for developers in the industry. We are happy to have all these ideas on board and look for the new innovations happening in this space. Yeah, that's pretty much it. These are 3 bounties that we came up with, and yeah, now we can probably answer a few questions if you guys have them. Denver, can we take some questions or?
Yeah, as of now, I don't think there are questions for now. And probably you could go over some interesting or cool things that you foresee that you would like to be built with Biconomy.
Oh, sure. So yeah, as a part of bounties and what we are doing in the space, the couple of cool things that can be made out of Biconomy is, imagine the swaps happening. Let's say you use Uniswap, or you use Kyber network for making all these swaps. Currently, what you have to do is you have to put some DAI in your account or put some Ether in your account, and then probably make an exchange. For this, of course, for a new user, he has to go to an exchange, get some Ether, put it in the wallet, and then probably make some token swaps. So this can be a very good use case of anyone who's having any token can swap to another token without having DAI or Ether in his wallet. He can pay the fees within the token that he wants to get swapped. So this is something a lot of people have been working on it. And if any of the community members would love to explore that too, we are happy to support and happy to look at the idea. Then again, some components, the UI UX front, UX fund that what we see is there's a lot of friction happening whenever you use a DApp, because as Ahmed explained, that there are like 22, 23 steps involved in it. And it's very laggy, like it takes like 3 to 4 days to make it. Biconomy solves it by just plugging in play. But still, as we move forward, there are like a lot of flags in it, like a lot of pop-ups that come, a lot of friction points. So if you can, reduce the friction points to a minimum, and we can focus on having a very smooth sort of experience, end user experience. That's something also a key problem to solve in the industry. Apart from it, Ahmed, do you have anything in mind, like you want users to work on, or community members to look at this point of time? You're mute, I think.
Oops, sorry. Yes, I was talking to myself. So I'd definitely say think from an end user's perspective. Think, who your target audience really is and what they would see as a very slick and friction-free experience. That's very, very important when building anything, because you want to ensure that it's easy to use, and that's the main thing for most, if not all applications.
I have a question. Okay, hi, my name is Chai. So do you have any existing integrations which I can look at of Biconomy or Biconomy?
Sure. We made a custom DApp. It's called moonshot.io. That's sort of a demo app out there. You can play it out. It's totally on using Biconomy SDK, and it's on Matic also. You can probably have a look, like the sort of experience end user will get after integrating Biconomy. We have a couple of dApps that are in the private stage that we'll be revealing after launching a beta. So the only test app that you can look at this point of time is it's on our website. It's called moonshot.io. I can share the link in the chat if that helps.
Any other questions?
Yeah, any other question, guys? Or Denver, probably we can start off the workshop as you like.
Yeah, that seems fine. I think we can start off the workshop, and in the meantime, people can type in their questions. And then
Yeah,
we can
always
take
type
them.
in or you guys can, anyone if has any question, you can always reach out to us on a Telegram or Discord group. We are almost active like 24/7. So if you get stuck somewhere while building something, or if you want to know more about the problem statements, just text us anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Ahmed. Thanks, Aniket, for coming on board and introducing Biconomy to the Money Legos hackers. Right. Now we will kick off the workshop. I think we have Sachin and Tarun from Biconomy who will be taking that up.
Yeah. Sachin is here.
Cool. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Hello. Sachin is here.
Sachin is coming, I think. Sachin is just about to.
Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, we can start in like 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yep, he's just coming. He just confirmed.
Hi, Sachin.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, we can start the workshop.
Cool. Cool. You can share the screen.
Sure, sure. So my screen is visible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just open the presentation.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we can start, I think.
Yeah, we can start.
So thank you guys for joining in. Good evening, everyone. So we are gonna be showing you the uh, the walkthrough of Biconomy technology, what we have built, and how you can use Biconomy solution in your application. We are going to give a live demo also. So we have made a sample DApp. We are going to show you how you can integrate Biconomy in that application using multiple approaches we have. So I guess Ahmed and Aniket already have talked about the Biconomy as a company, what we are doing. I'll just go through quickly about Biconomy. Our main focus is to make the next generation technology very simple to use. So we believe like blockchain is definitely a next generation technology, but the only problem is right now it's not very simple to use. I mean, it has the capability to to change how we interact with the application today, how we own some digital assets today, but it's not very simple to use when it comes down to the mainstream user using these applications. So our first focus our first like solution is around this blockchain technology, and we are just trying to make it simple to use in an easy way, yeah, you can say. So
Yeah.
we can move ahead, Tarun, next. Yeah, so in today's presentation, me and Tarun will be doing the presentation. So a quick intro about me. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Biconomy. Uh, been in crypto for around 2.5 years now. So earlier I was in companies like Samsung, Make My Trip in India, but then eventually I came around this blockchain technology in late 2017. Went through Ethereum white paper, Bitcoin white paper, and found it really interesting. And then started playing around the technology. And then when I realized the full potential of this technology, I quit my full-time job at the Make My Trip, and eventually started doing some freelancing around blockchain projects. And then met two of co-founders Aniket and Ahmed in a blockchain event in Bangalore in 2018, and that's how we started Biconomy.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Tarun. I basically handle backend infrastructure at Biconomy, majorly related to layer engine infrastructure and security related stuff. So I've been in the space like last 3 years, and previously I was working on a social key recovery protocol. And like while developing that protocol, I met Aniket, who is one of the co-founders at Biconomy, and our thought process aligned, like to solve UX related problems first if we really want mass adoption. So yeah, since then I've been with Biconomy. Yeah.
Cool. Let's proceed. Okay, so this is the problem slide. So when we think about the problem we face while building these applications, so you see on the right side of the screen, you can see the already solved problem. If you are trying to build a Web3 application, so if you need a node, there are solution providers like Infura, Alchemy. If you need servers, there are Amazon, the Google Cloud, the DigitalOcean. If you need wallets, there are multiple wallets provider out there: Automatic, Ethereum, Otis, MetaMask, which you guys must be using. Fiat on-ramp solutions are out there. Data APIs, analytics solution are already out there. Dune Analytics, tenderly provide these services. But when you see the transaction management and layer infrastructure, there's like no specific service that is totally focusing on these problems. So we are trying to solve these unsolved UX problems that a DApp developer today is facing. So let's say with all the solved solutions, you make a DApp. Now when you launch it in the market and users and allow your users to use it, so that's where the problem comes. User is not able to use your DApp so easily. I mean, when you see these Web2 apps, they are pretty easy to use, but that's not the case with Web3 app. So we are trying to solve these problems while building an application.
Yeah.
Coming to the solution. So broadly, to talk about the solution, we are providing the solution in the form of an SDK and APIs. So either you can, integrate our SDK or you can use our APIs. So one of our APIs is out. Few APIs are still in progress. We'll, soon release them. Talking about the solution. So we have made a layer infrastructure that is scalable, that is secure. So being a developer, you don't have to create a layer network on your own. And when it comes to the integration, it hardly takes a day to integrate the solution. That would actually save the cost and time of the developers. So by cost timing, you don't have to set up these nodes that are totally focusing on relaying your transactions, and that are doing the gas management part, that are doing the transaction ordering stuff. So all these things Biconomy has already done, and obviously you will save time. You won't have to spend the time building these solutions. You can just plug and play the Biconomy's solution, and you can totally focus on building your application, and like no maintenance is needed from your side. Like we are doing it, we are doing all the tedious work at the back end, so you guys don't have to do it by yourself. And like when you talk about the scalability, like you don't have to worry about the scalability, because we have we have made our system scalable in a sense, like we have multiple layers. So even if a lot of transactions come into our system, so our system is dynamically scalable. So on the during the runtime, it can automatically add more layers, fund them as if the system sees a huge amount of transactions are coming into the system. So that's how we made the system. So you don't have to worry about the scalability, and like you don't have to worry about security, because you don't have to manage these layers. So we are managing them. So that's the solution we are providing. So we'll talk about it in the coming sections. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, these are the points which I have already mentioned. The gasless transaction you get, the transaction management you get. By transaction management, I mean, let's say you have sent a transaction on the network, but that is not getting included in the block. It might be uh, due to low gas price, or or maybe out of order transaction. So we are taking care of that. Even if it is due to a low gas price, we will bump up the gas price, and we'll eventually make sure that your transaction gets included in a block. And coming to the gas optimization, so that is actually critical when it comes to providing a relay service, because it's easy to set a higher gas price and let your transaction included in a block quickly, but that is at the expense of higher gas price. I mean, it doesn't have to be that much higher. I mean, you just have to find the right balance. You just have to find the right gas price so that your transaction gets just included in the block also, and I mean, it's not as high. uh, so on that part you will save the gas also. So we are doing that stuff, so that you guys don't have to do that. And we are providing a dashboard also for developers, so that you can manage different configuration around your dapps. You can see the analytics around the usage of your application. So the analytics part is not live yet, but we are working on that. It will be out soon. We have the scalable and smart relay engine. I already talked about that. The blockchain agnostic part. So we have built the infrastructure to be blockchain agnostic. So right now we are supporting Ethereum, we are supporting Matic network, and we are in talks with other blockchain to support those also, like Tezos, RSK. So those will be included eventually, but we have started with Ethereum and Matic network. uh, its web and mobile support is there. You can use our SDK on web and mobile both. Support for Web3 wallets. So Biconomy SDK is compatible with almost every Web3 wallet out there. So you can actually easily integrate Biconomy with the existing wallet which you must be using in your application. So yeah, let's go ahead. Okay, so I mean, we talked about the developer experience, we talked about the problem a developer faces. Let's see it from the point of view of end user now. So if you see the left side of the screen without Biconomy, you can see these are the steps a user have to go through when user uses your application. He needs to create a wallet, he needs to manage these seed and private keys, and then when it comes to interacting with your application, so the user realizes okay, I need gas to pay for the transaction fees, and then he goes to an exchange. And then if it's a new user, first time user, it takes around 2 3 days to do your KYC on exchange, get some ether. Or if you fortunately, if you have some crypto friend, you can ask them with some ether. But again, this is a very lengthy process. You get ether, you transfer that ether to your wallet, which is in your DApp, and then you gets to use your DApp. And that too, every time you interact with the DApp, you have to pay the transaction fees. So that is very painful when it comes to the end user experience. So this is definitely not the experience we want when we see when we foresee the mass adoption of the blockchain, when we see the mainstream user using the applications built on blockchain. So with that vision, if on the right side, if you see with Biconomy, I mean, the experience would be similar to a Web2 application. On every interaction, you don't have to pay the transaction fees. So I mean, you will see when we show you the demo, you will see the difference in the experience.
Yeah.
Okay, now talking about the solution, talking about the approaches in which you can do the meta transaction. So right now we are supporting two approaches. One is the contract based accounts. second is the native meta transaction. So we'll show you the demo using both approaches, and you will see like what the difference is like between both approaches. So let me explain one by one by using a diagram. Can you move ahead, Tarun? Okay. So this is a contract-based account architecture. So here the main point is every user that comes on your application, a smart contract wallet is deployed for that user. And user, the client wallet account, like if you are using MetaMask, so the MetaMask address would be the owner of that smart contract wallet. And user have to store all the ether, all the funds, all the digital assets in that smart contract wallet. So that's the main point here. Once he comes on the DApp, he log into the DApp. In case of a new user, a new smart contract wallet is created. In case of an existing user, just login happens and like no deployment happens. So so if you see this architecture, like we have it assumes the login part is already done. The user contract wallet is already there. So let me explain you these three components which you are seeing on the screen. The one on the top left side of the screen is the user interface of the DApp. Pretty simple, like user has a wallet, he has a zero balance account over there. The bottom component is the Biconomy layer infrastructure, and the top right component is the blockchain component. On the blockchain, you can see three smart contracts over there. One is the Biconomy Relay Hub smart contract, which Biconomy has deployed on each blockchain, each supported blockchain. This is second one is the user contract wallet. So this is again like deployed for every new user, and the user is the owner of that contract wallet. And last one is the contract, the DApp smart contract. Okay, so if we see the flow, user come on the DApp, he do an interaction. So instead of signing the transaction directly to the blockchain, he just signed the transaction data along with the signature and the data he sent to the Biconomy infrastructure, the off-chain Biconomy relayers, where one of the Biconomy relayers would eventually create a blockchain transaction, wrap the actual transaction which user sent in that new transaction, sign that transaction and send to the blockchain, and then eventually pay the transaction fee. So here one of the Biconomy relayers will actually pay the transaction fee, and the transaction will first go to the Biconomy Relay Hub smart contract, where on-chain signature verification will happen. So signature verification is required, so Biconomy does not alter any transaction data while relaying that transaction. So after signature verification, the transaction goes to the user contract wallet, and then finally lands onto the DApp smart contract. So why we have taken this approach is because is to solve the message.sender problem. Okay, so if you have a DApp, if you have a smart contract that depends on message.sender property, and if we directly relay the transaction from one of our relayers to your smart contract, the message.sender would be our relayer's address, in which is not desirable. So we are taking this route so that the message.sender on your smart contract would be the user's contract wallet address, which the user already owns. So that's how this solve the message.sender property.
Yeah. In addition to what Sachin said, so let's say you have some existing DApp and you are deploying this contract wallet for each user. So although Biconomy is deploying this contract, but user have full control over its wallet. So if somebody is having some tokens, X amount of tokens in that contract wallet, Biconomy cannot really withdraw it or do anything without user signature. So it is already in the contract itself, right, Sachin?
That's right. And every time it has to be a new signature, because we have the replay protection mechanism in the smart contract itself.
Yeah. So our contract wallet is like a nonce-based system, just like an Ethereum normal account. So every different signature has different nonce.
Yeah. So let's move to the second approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this looks much simpler than the previous one. It's because it actually is simple than the contract wallet approach. So here, no smart contract wallet is involved, but the main point here is that you have to make your smart contract, the DApp smart contract, native meta transaction enabled. So by native meta transaction, I mean your smart contract should not rely on the message dot sender or the message dot value property. So if it is independent of these property and you have written any business logic in your smart contract, then that means your smart contract is native meta transaction enabled, and you can use this native meta transaction approach to deploy the meta transactions in your application. And the flow is quite simple. As you can see, the user comes on the user interface, he initiate a transaction. Instead of sending direct transaction directly to blockchain, he signs a piece of he signs all the transaction parameters, sent to the Biconomy off-chain relayers. One of the Biconomy relayers signs actual blockchain transaction, and wrap those initial transaction in that, pay the transaction fee, and directly call the DApp smart contract. So I mean, if the logic does not depend on message or sender, it doesn't matter who is actually sending that transaction, right? So that's how this approach is quite simple to use, but it involves some changes in your smart contract. So that's the difference.
Yeah, so let's say you are a new developer and you are developing it for the first time. So like we suggest to go for the native meta transaction approach, because it involves like more optimization. Like you don't need to deploy any contract wallet for each user. So if you have existing DApp and there are already users on that, then you can go for contract wallet approach, because then you don't need to change anything in your current DApp.
Yeah, and using this approach, you can keep the funds, you can keep all the digital assets in your client wallet address. So
Yeah.
that's also the advantage of this approach. Okay, let's move ahead.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's go to the documentation walkthrough. I mean,
Sure.
the theoretical part is done. Let's move to the more practical part. So the introduction section I've already covered. The problem we are solving by Biconomy. How do we do it? Two approaches are there: contract-based and native meta transaction approach.
Right.
Let's go straight ahead to getting started. Okay, so this is the Biconomy integration is actually a two-step process. First step is you go to a dashboard, you create an account there, you register your DApp, you upload your smart contracts, you select the methods in your smart contract on which you want to enable meta transaction. You select the approach, whether it has to go with contract wallet approach or whether it should use the native meta transaction approach. And once that's done, go to your client side code, you integrate Biconomy SDK, and then like
Yeah. So yeah, Sachin, like before going forward, I think we can show everyone like how to enable native meta transaction first in the smart contract, and like how easy it is. So should I you can explain about this meta transaction standard.
Okay. So remember when I said like in native meta transaction, you have to get rid of the message dot sender dependency and the message dot value dependency. So how do you do it? So we have made a meta transaction standard repository here. This is a public repository. You can go on the GitHub and check it out. So this is actually to help the developers to enable the native meta transaction in their smart contract. And like these contract also takes care of the signature verification on chain and the replay protection. So integration is actually quite simple. So we have made a set of smart contracts. One is the EIP 712 meta transaction contract. So this is made. So this is created considering the EIP 712 standard. So when we are taking the signature, user signature, so the data has to be in the EIP 712 format. So it actually makes it easy for user to see what actually user is signing, and this way we can include all the transaction data in the signature, so that even the Biconomy, while relaying the transaction, cannot change any data.
Right.
So I would suggest you to check the EIP 712 standard also. But now, yeah, coming back to the enabling native meta transaction. So can you go back? Yeah, just open the test contract.
Yeah.
So here, if you see this test contract, very simple contract, just two property. One is the code, string public code. Second one is the address public owner. And we have one read function, get code. It just return the code and the owner of that code, and one write function, set code. So if these contracts were not used here, on line number 13 you would have seen like owner is equal to message dot sender here. So but we want to get rid of message dot sender because we want to enable native meta transaction. So what do? We inherit this EIP 712 meta transaction contract. We pass some parameters to it. The first one is the name. You can give any name, but you have to make sure on your client code you give the same name while getting the signature from the user. Second constructor argument is the version. So again, any version you can give, you have to keep the version same in your client code. We'll see once we show you the client code. And on line number 13, instead of message dot sender, we have just replaced it with message sender method that is already present in EIP 712 meta transaction contract. So that's how you enable native meta transaction in your contracts. Yeah, I mean that's it. You can, I mean, these are public contracts. You can actually make changes in them also as per your need. But this is a basic one we have made, so it's easy for you to proceed and
Right.
go ahead and focus on that.
I think I can show the demo also, like the integrated DApp, which integrates native meta transaction first, and after that we'll go to the code and just integrate Biconomy, right?
Sure.
So this is like a simple application in which you can just set your code, and like the other method is you can get the code. So right now, as it is clearly visible, like somebody has set this code to set code, and the owner of the address is this. So if I want to, let's say I'll say Web3 is awesome. So this is like EIP 712 signature, in which I can clearly see the message, and after signing, it will just relay the transaction. So yeah, it is on Dropston right now, so it will take some time to confirm. And after that, this message will be replaced by this. Web3 is awesome. And
Yeah. The main part is the user balance here.
yeah. So if you see, like my current address is 1 second, sorry, is this, and I have 0 ETH in it. So still I'll be able to relay the transaction using Biconomy. It will get confirmed in some time.
That's just Dropston.
Yeah.
Confirming the transaction.
Yeah.
So did you refresh the page?
Yeah, I refreshed the page. Yeah, it is updated. So it is Web3 is awesome, and it is saying like you are the owner of the code. So you can play with this simple application and just see like how easy it is. So like before going forward, I would like to also go through the dashboard first, and we'll try to create a application on the dashboard, and after that we'll look into the client side code in which how we are interacting with the Biconomy backend infrastructure. Okay.
Just log out and like start from beginning.
Yeah, sure. So it's like you can register, or if you have an already account, you can just simply log in. And after that, there's an option like register a new DApp. So let's say set app, and it's on Dropston. So I'll create this app. So after that, there are like a couple of options here. So if you see this configuration part, it's like you can restrict like number of website restriction, like who can interact with this application, who can interact with your. So let's say you want to restrict only your domain, or maybe some subdomains you can add here easily. And other than that, this is your API key, which is very much necessary to interact with the application, and this is the DApp ID, which is correspond to this single DApp. And there is a section actions in which you can customize different limits on your DApp. So let's say you want to enable some limit on this particular DApp. You say like 0.5, I'll show you. So you say like 0.5 ether on this DApp, you want to enable this limit. So I'll system will keep checking this limit on every single transaction on your DApp, and if you reach that limit, it'll just show the error like you cannot go forward, right? And other than that, you can customize the limit on user level also. So let's say you have any DApp and you want some custom limit on per users, like any user can spend up to this much amount on this DApp. So you can also customize that from here. And there's another limit is per API. Per API simply means I'll like create APIs first, and after that you can understand like what is this API limit. So I'll add the contract of my DApp here. So it is asking for name. Enter any custom name here. So for the smart contract address, I have my contract address here. And for the API also, and you can simply add the contract here. After you just added the contract, there's an option called manage APIs. So if you go into that, you have this smart contract. And Sachin, also explain like this execute meta transaction thing.
Yeah. Can you go back to the meta transactions?
Yeah, sure.
So in this DApp, we have made our smart contract native meta transaction enabled. So once we do that, so let's say now we want to interact with the DApp's methods. So if we directly call, can you show the test contract?
Sure.
Contract. Yeah. So here we have changed the message.sender with message sender method. So if we directly call the set code function here, the message sender method would not work that way, because remember, in case of native meta transaction, one of the Biconomy relayers directly calls this method. So if you directly call this method, message sender method would still be the relayer's address and not the actual user's address. So in order for that to work, we have one method in EIP 712 meta transaction contract. Can you open that, Tarun?
Yeah.
So every time you interact with your application,
This
you
one.
just have to call a single function, which is the execute meta transaction. It takes the user address as a parameter. User address is the same user address which user has in the client wallet. So if you're using MetaMask, this would be the MetaMask address. Second argument is the function signature. So this is the argument that would tell the smart contract which function it needs to call on your DApp smart contract. So if we are calling the set quote method of our DApp, so in the function signature, the set quote method function signature would go in here, and the rest of the parameters are signatures, the R, S, and V part of the user signature, to verify that transaction is actually coming from the user address and not from anyone else.
Yeah.
That's the reason we have to call this method instead of directly calling your smart contract method. But eventually your smart contract method would be called using this. So we'll see how.
So in this case, let's say we are executing this execute meta transaction function. So the function would be set code, right?
Yes. Function signature would be of set code.
Yeah. So yeah. So here I'll select this method. Like these are the methods which can populate in the method field. So you can select this and you can name it like anything. And make sure you check out this little box because it will tell our backend servers that you are interacting with the native meta transaction.
So whatever demo we are showing now, this is on the native meta transaction approach. So every action is based on that approach only.
Right. So basically, yeah, I just save it, and after that, like what I'm saying here is like I can customize like which are the methods in my DApp in which I want to enable meta transactions on. So that's why we have separate out this thing. You can easily manage your different API methods, and if you go back here and see this. So now you can easily manage also API element. So let's say you want to restrict like per API element, you can also edit it here. So yeah, like the dashboard thing is completed, and let's go to the client side code.
Yeah.
So right now, like although we have this contract deployed on Dropston and it has meta transaction enabled, but I haven't integrated any relayer to relay my transactions. So let me show you like what is the experience if I won't integrate any relayer and still I want to call this method and interact with this application. So I'll just run this app, and after that we'll go like to each functions and understand. Somebody I think changed it. Nice. So I'll just try to change this code. So it is asking for the signature, just like you have seen before. But I don't have any funds in my account, so it'll say this like insufficient.
Now Biconomy is not integrated in this
application. Yeah, it's like Biconomy is not integrated. So I'll just after this I'll just show you like how easy it is to integrate Biconomy, and you can see the difference. So yeah, so I'm not able to set any code. So now if I need to integrate Biconomy, before doing that, let's understand like what are some of the functions written here. So like first of all, we are initializing our provider. So
just to give some context in this, so this application is made in React. So all these like use effect function, these are provided by React. Just to mention this here.
Yeah, right. This application is developed in React.js. So yeah, these are the couple of functions. The first thing is like we need to initialize our provider. So right now, like we are using it in browser, so it's like Web3 injected. So you can check for like if MetaMask is there, and you can also check for the network also. So right now we are providing this provider here in Web3, and after that we are just initializing like what is the selected address and just set it here. And when I press submit, this method invokes and takes the nuns to avoid replay protection and this selected address, and after that the set code method of the test contract, and after getting these three things.
But just to interrupt here, like
Yeah.
one of the participants asked on the chat, why we are only registering the execute meta transaction method on the dashboard. So
Okay.
because the actual function which we want to execute is being passed as a function parameter here on line number 84, if you see the function signature. So we are getting the set code function signature. So eventually this function only will be called. So that's how the function's information is getting passed to that execute meta transaction function. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Right. I hope like it answered the question. So yeah, after getting these three parameters, we'll just it's like an encoding method for having EIP 712 signatures, and we'll just get the sign type V4 signatures here. And once we have this signatures, we can just call send transaction method, in which we'll pass this function signature. And if you remember, like on the contract itself, we need like this user address and function signature with these three parameters.
Yeah.
And like this is like the standard method of getting these RLP signature RSV parameters. And after that, this is a simple read call in which you can get the code from the network. And this is the main method, like which is sending the transaction, so in which you can easily call the method. So let's try to integrate Biconomy and like follow the documentation and see.
Cool.
Yeah. So if I go here, like this is our SDK, and I just need to install it.
And just so guys, this is the way we are installing Mexa using npm. So if you don't have npm project, you can also use this standalone JavaScript file also. Using the script tag also you can enable. And below is the format in which you will enable the Biconomy. So I mean the process is same, just the format is different. So you can check out this also.
Yeah. So the SDK is installed. After that, it is saying I just need to import and initialize Mexa. So I'll just import it. And for the initialization, I'll just replace like whatever is my current provider with the Biconomy provider. So I'm initializing my provider here. So I'll replace this line with this. And I'll pass the provider here. And for the DApp ID, we can go to dashboard. So this is my API key. This is my DApp ID. Right, and yeah, we just after that it is saying initialize your DApp after Mexa initialization. So it simply means like whatever, if you want to, get address from the MetaMask, you just listen for the Biconomy ready event, and after like Biconomy is successfully initialized, you just paste that code into this ready event. So this is the code I want to execute under the Biconomy event.
So whatever initialization code you have, just put it inside the Biconomy.ready event block.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I have successfully done it. And if you are like using Web3.js, so Biconomy is like super compatible with Web3.js. So you don't need to do any single change in the code. So wherever you are using Web3, it will automatically pick up Biconomy. So let's try to run now. Wow. Nice. So if I'll do is Web3 is create. I'll ask for my signature. After that, yeah, transaction is being sent. So once it is confirmed, it is like automatically picked up here. So yeah, that's how easily you can just replace your provider with the Biconomy provider, and you can easily integrate. So I have like this quick summary points for specifically for the native meta transactions. So just first of all you create a smart contract, and after that you have to enable this native meta transaction in your smart contract, and you can follow that meta transaction standard repository. And after that you just deploy your contract on whichever network you want with address and its ABI on the Biconomy dashboard. And after that, just enable like meta transaction, like manage your go to the manage API section and enable which other specific methods you want to enable meta transactions on. And after that, just change your Web3 provider to Biconomy provider with the API key and app ID on the dashboard.
Yeah. And can you go back to the demo?
Like the web browser.
Okay. This is reflected. No, the GitHub repository, the smart contract, test smart contract.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, the test contract. So just want to mention here, like here in the set code method, we just used message.sender, and we just use the functionality provided by EIP 712 meta transaction, right? So if you don't want to rely on some external contract, you can also do all the signature verification and the replay attack protection. You can do right there in the set code method. You can modify it as per your need, but in that case on the dashboard, then you would register this set code method only if you are doing everything on your own and you're not relying on external contracts. So yeah, I mean, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
So it's totally up to you. I mean, we have provided a easy way to do it, but you can always like modify it as per your needs.
Yeah. It's just that like if you don't want to do any custom changes, you can just easily inherit.
Yeah.
So Sachin, are you showing like?
Yeah. Now, okay, this was the native meta transaction approach. Now let me show you how you can enable meta transaction using the contract wallet approach in the same project. Okay, so that way you will understand the difference between both the approaches. So let me share my screen now.
Okay, cool.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me refresh this. So this is the same project which Tarun showed just now. And in this project, again, the user does not have any ether. If I try to do any interaction, it will ask for the it will ask me to send the transaction and pay the transaction fee, which I obviously don't have. So I will reject this. And just to mention the point here, I have not enabled the native meta transaction now in this contract. Let me show you how the contract looks like. This is not the project. This is the one. Source. This is the source contracts. This is my test contract, and this is like very basic contract. I have not used the message sender method here. I have not inherited any external contract method. So this is my simple contract which is deployed, and I'm using this. Okay, I'm just trying to call the set quote method. When I click this function, it asks me to pay the transaction fee. Now let's see how we can enable the contract wallet approach in this. So let me also follow the documentation for you guys. Go to this Biconomy SDK. So the dashboard part is same, which Tarun has just shown. This is my demo app. We scroll down, view tab. This is the same for we see the APIs. Only the execute meta transaction is there right now. Okay, let's go to the docs. First, I will need to install Mexa. Let me okay. Let me do this. We're just trying to show from scratch here, so you guys know each and every step during Biconomy integration. So these two contracts I'm not using here. Let it install. Meanwhile, let's go to the next step. So these are the next steps. Let me import Biconomy. So this is my contract code, and this is my client code, app.js. So very simple code here, the same which you just saw, like initializing the app, checking the network version, initializing Web3, reading from the network. On submit, I'm just, as you can see, I'm just calling this set code method here. And transaction hash and confirmation showing the messages. This is the read method, get code from network, and like very basic app. So while this is being installed, let me perform the steps. I have imported Biconomy. Now I need to initialize Biconomy. So I will do it where I am initializing my Web3 provider. Okay. So here I write this. I don't need this line now. And in the Web3 provider, the existing provider which I'm using, in this case, this is the provider, the window.ethereum. Let me replace these DApp ID and API key from the dashboard. This is the API key. Okay. app ID. The npm install is taking time here. Okay, let it install. So yeah, I mean, if we see the contract wallet approach here, you know, the diagram which I shown you in the starting. So this would involve this contract wallet address now. So in this app, we would have to, you know, add a login method here now in this case, so that a user can log in. If it's a first-time user, the contract wallet would be created. Let me, you know, add some code for that. So in the UI, let me enable this piece of code. This is just a login button I'm providing, and it's executing on login method. Now on login, what do we write? Okay, this we can refer the documentation, dashboard, Maxa, user login. Let's come to the user login part. Okay, so here you can see skip this section if you're using native meta transaction, because user login was not needed in case of native. But we are using the contract wallet approach. Now this is a login API. It has two sections. When you use a third-party wallets, it's like you are using MetaMask, you are using Portage, Fortmatic, Ethereum, any other wallets. So this is the code which you will, you know, use. Both approaches are there. You can use the callbacks, you can use the promises. I would go with the promises. Let me copy this and let me just paste here in the onLogin method. So here I would need to give the user address, which in my case is the selected address variable here. And once I do the login, so here, this is the section which will tell me, okay, this is a first time user. A contract wallet is being created for the user. So I would want to show similar message to my users. Show success message. This is my custom function which I made to show the custom message. Your contract wallet is being created. Please wait. Okay. And if I come in this if section, that means it is already an existing user. So in that case, I would just show login successful. Okay. I hope the npm install is complete. Cool. Now let's follow the documentation. So this part is done. Login part is done. And this is the section when you implement your own wallet. Like if someone has implemented their own wallets, they could. That means they have access to the user's private key. So in that case, you can follow this piece of code for the user login part. We'll skip that. Now let's come to this contract wallet confirmation part. So now when this if section would be executed, it said like please wait for the confirmation. So how will we get the confirmation? So this is the way we'll get the confirmation. Let me copy this. Now, okay, I have not initialized. I have not written the Biconomy initialization code there. Let me go copy this. I mean, Tarun already shown this. So whatever we are doing in the initialization, we would write it here. That is done. Now we would want to get the smart contract wallet deployment confirmation. So I go to this section, contract wallet confirmation, copy this code, paste it here where I have the Biconomy variable on event login confirmation, user contract wallet address. This. So this might not work right now. We'll update the documentation. I'll tell you how to get the user contract wallet address. So here it means like the user contract wallet has been created. Let me take, so you can actually use Biconomy get user contract function. You just pass the selected address here. This will give you the user contract wallet address. Let me console log here. User contract wallet address is the contract address. And we can also show user some success message like contract wallet creation successful. Okay, as you can see, like I have to do a lot more work than the native meta transaction approach, but that's how it is. That's why we, yeah.
I think you need to add like async in the before the log.
Yeah. If I'm using await here, I would need to make this method easy. That's right. Okay, so this part is done. Let me try the app now. After Biconomy integration, okay, this has been handled. Biconomy is defined. Biconomy is not defined on line number 73. That's right, because we have made it a constant variable here. Let me define it here on the global scope. Cool. No, here, great, fine. Okay. Now let me try to. This is a new code. Let me try to. Now, okay. Now, before executing any transaction, I need to log in here. So when we click login, this signature request comes. So this piece of code is already handled in Biconomy SDK. We just get the user signature. So it says like your contract wallet is being created. Please wait. So now the contract wallet creation transaction has been sent by Biconomy server, and now the contract is being created for this new user. Let's wait for the contract wallet creation. Should not take more than 15-20 seconds because it's on Robston. We should have made it on Matic network, I guess, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So contract wallet creation successful. Let me now try to submit this code. Okay, it's asking again. I have integrated Biconomy, but it's still asking me to pay the fees, and that is because we have not registered the method on the dashboard.
Yeah.
So we have just registered this, right? But now we are not using native meta transaction, so we have to register this method, that code, because now we are using this. Now we will not enable this because we are using contract wallet approach. We add this method, we click save, we go to our DApp, we reload this. Now let's try to log in again, but this time a new contract wallet should not be created because it has already been created. Okay, now it's not created, just says login successful because it's already created. Let me do a new code transaction. It should not ask, now it's not asking me to sign the transaction. So this piece of code is handled by Biconomy SDK. Now it's asking the user signature. These are the transaction parameters which user is signing. Let me sign this. The transaction is sent to the blockchain. New code should be reflected here in the same contract very soon. And now after the transaction is executed, I'll show you the message.sender property this time. Like what would be the message.sender that eventually gets to the user contract. So to remind you again, let me show you this diagram here. So right now, this is the transaction flow which we are following. I just initiated the transaction. I just signed the parameters, sent it to Biconomy relayers. Biconomy relayers send the transaction to relayer contract. The signature verification happened. The transaction was relayed to the user contract wallet, which we just created. And then finally it lands on the DApp. Let's see if it is.
Sachin, like Yash is asking this, was that ERC 1776 for the signature?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. why is taking too much time? Option. Should I reload? Let's wait for some more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So this transaction is confirmed now. So, but still you can see here, you are not the owner of the code. Even if I did the transaction, that's because the message.sender in this case is not my MetaMask address. You can also verify here. This is the owner of this code, D769, but my MetaMask address is 9ECE. That's because this is the user contract wallet address. So now the message.sender would be user contract wallet address. So in order to make this application work, we need to change this logic also. Let me go here. I have this state here, contract wallet, set contract wallet. So once we, once we log in, and this is the user contract wallet which I get. Let me set here the contract wallet, and in the user interface, let me show you the contract wallet address also. And it says here, this is the logic which says you're the owner or you're not the owner. So instead of selected address, I would write the contract wallet address here. Let me save it. Let me reload the page. It's already reloaded. You are not the owner because we have not yet logged in to this application. Let me try to log in. Let me sign. It's logged in. This is the contract wallet, and you can see now you are the owner of the code. And you can see this is the same address which is my smart contract wallet. So the main point is only you can relay the transaction via your smart contract wallet. No one else can. So all your ownership, all the transaction ownership would be with your smart contract wallet and not with anyone else. So yeah, I mean, this was it.
Yeah.
So you have now seen both approaches in the same project. Now you must be knowing the differences between both approaches. One approach, in the native meta transaction approach, you can directly load up your funds, your ownership information in this address. But in the contract wallet approach, the ownership information would be in your smart contract wallet address. That's the main difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, like I want to mention one more thing. So yeah, our SDK is also open source. Our contracts, smart contracts, are also open source.
Yep.
So you guys are free to check out those repositories and feel free to contribute.
Yeah. One more thing, if you want to debug your application, like what's happening in the Mexa SDK, while initializing the Mexa SDK, you can actually pass the debug property to true. If you do that, and if you reload the application, all the debug logs would be printed here. Like these are the logs which you can see. So if you log in, okay, user logged in successfully. This is a smart contract wallet. When you are, please enter the code. Okay, please enter the code. Let me write this. So here you can see all the debug logs coming in. Like this is the actual transaction data which user is signing, and this is being portrayed here by the MetaMask. Please sign this. You get the transaction hash. You can track this transaction hash on the Explorer. User signature is this transaction hash. So I mean, you can debug the application using the debug logs here. So yeah, that's it.
And one thing more, like regarding the code submission guidelines for the hackathon. So you can go to our Mexa SDK repository and you can we have mentioned on the like DAppFolio website, like how you can fork the repo and just raise PR whatever you have made. So
yeah, and to add on to that, like guys, like if you have any questions, you can ask. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So if this is so we have shown you how you can integrate SDK on the client side, but if you have some dApps running on the server side, where there would be no MetaMask, there would be no client side wallets, how do you send transaction from that? So for that, you can totally do with Biconomy SDK using that also, using this send sign transaction function. So this is a Web3 JS already has this function. You can just call this function using Biconomy SDK, and still the meta transaction would work on the backend. But only difference would be like you would be having the access to a private key that is actually sending the transaction from the backend. Since there is no client wallet involved. So native meta transaction approach. This is the code. You will you have the private key, you have the address. You will create a raw transaction. You will just call the method here. In case of if you have inherited from EIP 712 meta transaction contract, this would be the execute meta transaction method. But if you have going by a contract wallet approach, no, not contract wallet. If you have enabled the the signature verification directly in your method, you can then mention your method here. Then again, it's the similar way you sign that Web3 transaction. Sign transaction, you call the web3.eth.send sign transaction. This is all done, and Biconomy SDK will handle that. So gasless transaction would be done. In case of contract wallet approach at the backend, some extra step would be there, because this is the contract wallet approach. You would need to have some signature that the Biconomy contract group should verify on chain. So in that case, you would not change anything on your smart contract, on your DApp smart contract. So this is the method. This is the way you can copy this code. You can either use the promise or use the callback. Going towards the configuration, this is you have seen like this is the format of the Biconomy's constructor. One Web3 provider and rest are the options. Web3 provider can be any Web3 provider. If it's Portis, you can do Portis.provider. If it's MetaMask, you can do this. If it's any other wallet, you can get the provider object from there. In options, you can see DApp ID is there, API key is there, strict mode is there. Let me, okay, if we are doing this, let me show you this option also. So, let me delete this set code API here. And now let me set the strict mode true here. STRICT mode true. Let's see what happens when I call the set code method. Even if I have not registered the set code method on the dashboard. So here you can see the error message. Biconomy strict mode is on. No registered API found on the method set code. Please register API from the developer dashboard. So if you strictly want to enable only the meta transactions in your API, so you can do that by setting the strict mode true. So it will tell you if the API is not registered on the dashboard, it would throw an error. So you have to register that API on the dashboard. Done. We reload the page, and let me do some changes so you don't have to log in every time. Once it's initialized, if Biconomy.is login, I can just do this. I get the user contract wallet address, and I just not show set contract wallet contract address. Okay, let me reload it. You cannot use the wait. Okay, let me make it sync. Please enter the code. Biconomy user login. Okay. Let's debug this right here. I mean, you guys, if you guys have any questions, you can also ask. In the meantime, I am debugging this. This is the Biconomy object. It has the is login property true. It has is login property true. So it should be true. Selected address. Coming undefined. Okay. It's actually coming inside it. Biconomy. What's the selected address? I think. Okay. I think it's the React's problem. It is not able to, modify this variable right away because it does it in an async process. So we have to get this from here, property. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just trying to. Debug here. Okay, this is the we have got this address. I think we should be able to do this. And we should be able to do this. Mm-hmm. We have got the contract out address. No? This is 9 ECE. Is this the same address I'm getting from the MetaMask? 9 ECE. We are doing the same. That is your contract. Okay. So this property is definitely setting to be true. Biconomy.is login because it's the same address, and when Biconomy reinitializes, it checks the local storage of the browser and it see if this user has already logged in before. Usually, sets the property. I think we can, if we see the message code, we see the options here. Okay, anyways, like this we can figure out and let you guys know. We'll update this this all the both approaches on the GitHub. You can check out the code. And,
yeah, we'll upload both approaches, right?
Yep. Did we wrap up? So looks like no more questions are there.
Yeah.
And you guys can like join the Discord channel, join the Telegram technical. Okay, we have a question here. So I can use my own way of recovering signature in my smart contract. The relay network will relay it regardless. I do not have to inherit Biconomy's. Yeah, that's right. You can write your own logic in your smart contract. You do not have to rely on this. This is just given to to get you started. Yeah, so you can write your own logic also. That's right.
Any more questions?
Let me Tarun, can you share the Discord link in the chat also, so that
Sure. Give me a sec.
are also building this out. So if you if you can also help us out in building this, it would be great. Yeah, every idea is welcome here.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you guys for joining in. I hope you
Bye
build
bye everyone.
great apps. Yeah, keep building. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks for joining in, Sachin.